Hey, how you doing? Welcome to Garden Fork Radio. Thank you very much for downloading the show. Today, Rick and I are here. We're going to talk about secure email, private non-tracked browsing and searching, and my effort to lose weight. So welcome. Hey, sir.
Hey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm above the grass. And when I say that, people are they're like, huh? Oh, I get it.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, I woke up on this side of the grass. And so I feel pretty good. You're trying to lose weight.
Yes, I have done this before, but I am using the Noom weight loss app. And this is not sponsored or anything, but I was just wondering if anyone else in our in the audience, that's a word. Anyway, any of the Garden Fork crew here that's listening, if you're using the Noom app or you're thinking about it, maybe we can all get together. We could create a Google email group or just text amongst ourselves or something. But I have found that I do better when I work on a project with other people. I really like the app. I tried it once about 2 years ago and I didn't like it, but they've improved it a lot. I've lost a couple pounds already. It is not cheap. It's like $50 a month, but I figure, well, a trainer at the gym is a lot more than that. And it's got me to think differently about how to lose weight. It's called Noom, and if you're interested, it's radio@gardenfork.tv.
Wow. $50 a month? Are you sure about that?
I think that's what it is. They charged me $150 for 3 months, so.
Okay, wow.
I think it's worth it. Yeah, they're making a lot of money, but I can't remember who I researched that rated it really high. I think Wirecutter might have rated it as the best one. It's not about buying their special food. I eat whatever I want, and I just learn as I go what foods are the ones that help me lose weight and what foods are like, okay, maybe you only want to do that once a week.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no guilt. It's very positive. It's all about, and it gets you, it's cognitive behavioral training, really. It's like, okay, weigh yourself every morning. And you log your meals, and it's like, oh, well, that's kind of stupid. But it actually starts to make you think, like oat milk is what in the yellow category of foods, and skim dairy milk is in the green category of foods. And so you start thinking about foods as, okay, that's a red food. I should really eat more greens and then a couple of reds. But then the other night, I had a big grilled cheese sandwich, and I put it down on my app. I said, I had a big grilled cheese sandwich. And they don't guilt you. They don't guilt you about it. So
right.
Anyway, if anyone's interested, radio@gardenfork.tv.
Yeah. I've been using MyFitnessPal, which is, it's probably, I think it's owned by one of the big running monitors, the wristbands. I forget who those people are. But it works pretty good. It's pretty much, I have looked into Noom, and I had it for a while. And it seemed like Noom is a cross between MyFitnessPal and Headspace.
Yeah.
As far as, it's Noom is, lessons and talks and some positive reinforcement and helping you rethink about your relationships to food and that kind of thing. And, but it's also logging your foods. One of the things I found out is that we are so predictably boring that we eat pretty much the same thing every day. And I mean, we have like maybe a 3 food rotation. And so it's easy to log because of that. I mean, you're not constantly looking up. One of the things that all the new weight loss apps have is a barcode scanner, and so you can scan a package, like if it happens to be that Ben and Jerry's American Dream ice cream, just scan.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah, just scan that barcode and it will tell you how bad you've been.
It does not. It does show you how many calories it is.
Yeah, and how much fat and carbohydrates and all that stuff. How many grams of sugar, and how many grams of protein. So that's all good. And then you can look up things. You can kind of like every now and then my secret snack is when I'm really bad, feeling down, is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, I love that.
And you can create a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and then just
In the app, yeah.
in the app and put it all together, give it a label PBJ S&M, and then it just hit that every time you make one, and so you're not having to constantly go through all the ingredients
Right,
again.
2 pieces of bread, 2 tablespoons
Right.
of jelly, Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
yeah.
It does learn over time. It puts your regular foods at the top of the list when you're picking your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks and that. And
Yeah, and 3 inches of peanut butter. That's
all right. So if you're interested in the Noom app and me, it's radio@gardenfork.tv. Hey, real quick, if you would like to help support the show, one way is to use the Amazon link for Garden Fork. I said that backwards. The Garden Fork Amazon link. It's in the show notes here. It's amazon.com/shop/gardenfork. If you use that link, it'll take you to our shopping page. We can see the cool tools I use, cookbooks. I have several lists there of stuff. But also, by visiting that page, then doing all your shopping, we get a finder's fee for whatever you shop for that day. That's really helpful. Amazon.com/shop/gardenfork. Thank you. Rick and I have we text each other interesting articles or we email them. And Rick and I are both kind of security minded and privacy minded in a healthy way, I think. And I consider Rick my security and privacy expert. So you sent me an article about Proton Mail going kind of big. And you have a Proton Mail email address.
I have a Proton Mail email address. I have Proton VPN, Virtual Private Network, set up on all my gear here. And I'm quite happy with it. Nothing is ever perfectly all right. But these are the folks at CERN in Switzerland, and this is almost a hobby for them. And so they're not trying to gather. Their rule is we gather as little information about you as possible, encrypt everything, and it really is helpful. You can get about 3 or 4 different alias email addresses with an account. So you can have like Rick at Proton Mail, and then I could have Rick's Little Dogs at Proton Mail and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You can also, if you have a website like Garden Fork, you can incorporate that website email system into your Proton Mail address.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that.
So you could be like Eric at gardenfork.com, and
.tv.
then or .tv. And, I'm sorry. And then but it actually goes through the Proton Mail system. And so I'm really quite fond of it. You got to do something, quite frankly. The other thing I'm having a lot of luck with is the new Apple fake IDs. I forget what they call them, for your email address. And so if you have
aliases?
an Apple account, aliases, there you go. I just said it a minute ago. See, I get on the radio and I have these brain freezes.
The pressure.
But it will generate this 32 character alias for your name and relate it to an account you create inside Apple.
Right.
And then it's forwarded to your email address, but it creates a new alias for every newsletter, every subscription you have, everything. So your real email address is never sent out there.
Right.
And then there's this intermediate email address. This sounds complicated, but it works out very easily. This intermediate email address that you send things to, if it's ever compromised, you just change that and to a different address, and everything still flows through that one address to your main address. And so you get layers of security. And my spam has just dropped to 0.
Oh, wow. I would love that.
If they could ever do this with cell phones and cell phone numbers, I would be thrilled. I am so sick of constant spam on my cell phone. I've read articles about people who own companies and they can't get any work done because they get 8 or 10 of these an hour and they have
Yeah.
to check them all because they're in business. They need to answer the phone, and they're all different universities, no-name universities that want you to sign up and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I just had a thing yesterday. I emailed someone and then they called me back on my cell phone and it was a number I didn't recognize, so I didn't answer it. I'm like, well, if it's important, if they really want to talk to me, they'll leave a voicemail. That's my thinking with that kind of thing. And the
Right.
person didn't leave a voicemail. So then I ran into them today and I'm like, hey, what's up with that thing we talked about? I emailed you about. Oh, I called you. And I'm like, did you leave a message? No. And I'm like, well, then how do I know? I said, look, I don't, if it's a number not in my contacts, it doesn't ring.
Right.
So I was like, then the guy was annoyed with me. And I'm like, if you don't leave a message, and I
Yeah,
said, don't
it's
you
not
get
gonna.
spam calls? It was, so if you're calling someone and they don't, they're not in their contacts, leave a message.
Yeah, yeah. I have my phone set on Do Not Disturb 24/7. I can afford to do that. I'm
Yeah.
an old guy, but if you're not in, the only thing that pushes through are people in my contacts and people who call back twice within 5 minutes. I think it is, which might be an emergency call or
Right.
something. And other than that, it goes straight to voicemail. And if you don't leave a voicemail, I'll never know that you called.
Yeah.
And I'm happy about that.
We'll link to the article in Wired magazine about Proton, and then they also have another article about 6 privacy-focused alternatives to the apps you use every day. I mean, I'm not trying to say like we live in a bunker, but I just don't. I just don't think that you can safely use the internet without just giving over your whole life story every time. And I use the DuckDuckGo search engine. I set it for the
Right.
default on all my devices instead of Google or Bing. I really like them. They actually have some ads out now, and they are expanding to that they have an app, a plugin. It's called for the Firefox browser that automatically incorporates all their privacy defenses. I think might be the word.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And that's good. DuckDuckGo got some bad press. There were some people that said DuckDuckGo was censoring their political views, but DuckDuckGo is just a intermediary between Bing, the Microsoft search engine, and you, and so it was Bing that was blocking certain terms or certain kinds of material, not DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo's whole point is to make your interaction with Bing absolutely private. There's no link other than DuckDuckGo between that search engine and you.
So DuckDuckGo is not its own search engine. It runs on top of Bing.
Yes,
Huh.
And Bing isn't, it's not a perfect search engine. None of them are, and none of them are
Right.
as great, frankly, as Google. If I need really detailed search, I will go to, I'll open my Tor browser, the Onion Network, and it's about the most secure browser you can have. By the way, their speed has increased dramatically over the last few months. And then I can use Google through that and still remain generally kind of anonymous when I search for things. Not that I'm searching for anything nefarious at all. It's
Right.
just I'm just tired of every time I go to I search for a pair of socks, Argyle socks, and then everywhere I go on the internet I'm flooded with ads for Argyle socks, and I know what's happened.
Yeah.
So there's a new one called it's got a lion. What's it called? I'll have to look at it. Brave, Brave, a new search, or not a search app, but a browser, and it's supposed to be extremely privacy focused, even more so than DuckDuckGo. But it's also owned by Peter Thiel, or funded by Peter Thiel, and he's had some nefarious dealings in the past. And I generally things that are done by internet billionaires somehow end up not being very good for people in the end. So I just avoid them myself.
So I'm reading on DuckDuckGo, and they actually aggregate several different search. They use Bing, but they also have their own crawler, their own web crawler as well. So,
okay, well that's
right.
good. That's good to know. And I know they introduce like Wikipedia. They have all that stuff in there as well. And by the way, Wikipedia has just turned out to be an amazing resource. Everyone used to make fun of it and said, how could this possibly? But over time, with iteration after iteration and improvement after improvement, and every article on there, these people that are monomaniacal about just one topic, train whistles. And they may not have a PhD in anything, but they can tell you everything about train whistles, every kind of whistle that was ever invented, how they work, how they're different from other ones. They write these articles, and they're a terrific outlet for their knowledge, as specific as it is. But I'm just constantly amazed at the depth and increasingly the accuracy of the information. Everybody says, well, it's not Encyclopedia Britannica, but it wasn't that long ago, around 1900, that the Encyclopedia Britannica had pictures of little sperm when they're talking about fertilization, and in the drawings they had little men crouched inside the sperm with a top hat on, and they were called manicules. And those manicules would go and fertilize the egg. And so, all knowledge changes. It improves as we go along. And when you have constant processes of iteration and improvement, the product gets better and better and better and better.
I actually give Wikipedia money every year.
You bet.
They have... a couple times a year, they just have a pop-up that comes on their site or their app, says, hey, could you throw us $5 or $20, whatever? And I do. I'm on their email list, and they have, I think, a very poor email fundraising system set up. And I've emailed them about it, and they didn't answer me because I know all the answers, There is on Instagram, there is an account called it's just called Depths of Wikipedia. And this person just finds the most weird stuff on Wikipedia and does a screen grab of it and puts it on Instagram.
Wow.
Lists of non-traditional bagpipe usage.
See? I had no idea. For some reason, we have something called a tattoo here. And it's all military bands, but Scottish bagpipe bands come from all over the world to compete and play. And then all the military services have their own bagpipe bands. I didn't know that. And it's really thrilling to be in a coliseum with hundreds of pipers and drummers playing at one time. But I happened to look up bagpipes, and I was just amazed at the number of bagpipes there are, including some weird Irish bagpipes that you actually sit down to play. It's just all kinds of stuff you can find there. So I'm a big supporter of Wikipedia.
If you're curious about what's going on in Eric's brain, maybe consider becoming a patron of the show. Every week I post between 1 and 10, depending on what I'm doing with the app, just photos and thoughts and what I'm working on kind of stuff. Also the after show, which is basically the third half of the regular Garden Fork Radio podcast. So think about that. Cup of coffee a month, a lot of Eric. You might not want that, or you might, or you just want to like buy me a cup of coffee every month. That would really be cool. Appreciate that. Information is below and at patreon.com/gardenfork. Thank you.
Speaking of things that, to contribute to, think about, I just gave an old lawnmower to a guy on next door who says, I'm collecting lawnmowers for kids and we work on them. And I got to talking to him, and his group is called 757, which is our telephone area code, Kicks for Kids, and kicks are shoes. And he collects all this old lawn equipment, lawnmowers, edgers, gas-powered weed eaters, string trimmers, that kind of stuff. And he gets all these kids together to work on them and get them back running, to learn how to work on them, adjust carburetors, pull equipment, that kind of, and adjust them. And they earn brand new, great, stylish tennis shoes, what I call tennis shoes, kicks. And then at the end of this, the kids give the lawn equipment they've refurbished to people who need it. And so it's a give back kind of situation. And I thought, gee, I am thrilled to see that kind of local initiative. And so if you feel overwhelmed with everything that's going on in the world, and there's a good reason to feel overwhelmed.
Yes. Hello. My hand is up.
Yeah. Find yourself a great little local charity, a guy who he's been doing this for 4 years, retired military guy, and he is just trying to find a way to help improve kids, give them something to focus on, during the summer, after school, to work on it, give them skills that, frankly, I don't have. My friend Eric has skills like this, working on small equipment and whatnot, but I really don't have any. And then they get something they want, kicks, which are donated, the shoes. And then the kids learn to give back to the community. And I think, that's what I call a virtuous cycle.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. I love that.
Yeah, I love virtuous cycles.
I have 2 broken lawnmowers in my garage. And the only thing that's keeping me from fixing them is I want to make a video, and then I make it complicated. And I'm like, why don't I just fix the darn lawnmower?
See, that's always the problem. I admire you a lot for having the initiative to fix things on video, because it takes 4 times as long.
Right. I haven't made any videos in a while, but I'm working on it.
But I mean, you could just, order a new Briggs and Stratton carburetor in the mail, pull the old one off, put the new one on, and fire up the lawnmower and go mow the grass. And that takes all of maybe 30 minutes total once it gets there.
Yeah.
But if you make a video, it's a half-day operation when you add in the editing and the cuts and finding the camera operator to help hold the camera when you're in some odd position underneath the lawnmower. It's a major undertaking to make videos for the internet.
Right. So I'm curious, we've had all these interesting things we talk about here, and then the last one that you sent was fermenting.
This goes back to our the Noom weight loss stuff and different
the beginning of time
weight loss apps. The time. But I have been fermenting pickles. I've been making my own yogurt, and so I try to use a different strain every time I make yogurt, and I get them from Cultures for Health.
Right, I remember this. I tried that. Yeah.
And then I bought a little fermenting kit, which is just a half-gallon jar, wide mouth jar with a lid on it, and then an airlock on top. That's all it is. And
the airlock allows air to leave the container, but not any air to come in.
Exactly, because air will ruin your fermentation. This has to be an anaerobic process without air. And so it's easy to make these pickles. I just go buy pick cucumbers at the store, slice them into quarters, lengthwise, not the Edith Bunker way, which is crossways. And then, do you know who Edith Bunker is?
Yes, yes, it's from the
All in
All
the
in the
Family.
Family
Okay.
TV show.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It was a gag on one of the shows.
Yeah.
Archie likes his quarter pickles, and she quartered them crossways instead of long ways. Oh, well, it was funny then. It may
Yeah.
not be funny now. This is down memory lane for us.
But anyway, let's get back
But-
to the fermenting the pickles.
Yeah, it's really easy. You get a little this fermenting powder, which is a freeze dried ferment. Put it into distilled water. Add the pickles, and then just maybe a tablespoon of salt and a handful of dill leaves, or dill weed leaves, dill seed, some peppercorns, a couple of cloves of garlic, and in 3 days you got these wonderfully fermented pickles, and they're good for your system. My gut health seems to improve when I eat these.
Oh, good. Because
So
we're all concerned
I'm-
about your gut health, Rick.
Well, I'm helping people get better at their gut health.
Have you
their
shared this with your neighbors, or?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay. So there's a difference between pickling and fermenting.
True.
Pickling
And,
seems to be more of a preservating.
Well, yeah, and it's a vinegar process, whereas fermenting is it's like making a beer. Make a pickle beer, I guess. But they actually have just a little bit of a carbon dioxide tingle, like a fizzy drink when
Yeah.
you eat them. And they're really good, and they're supposed to be really good for you. And you get they get a little cloudy in there, and that's actually good. That's the fermenting working. And the fermenting is a way of preserving pickles, but it's not the same as just sticking them in vinegar.
Right, right. And then you would to put them in vinegar if you want to keep them forever. You can can them, put them in, like boil them in the water in a jar with the rubber kind of lid and all that. So,
Right.
wow, I did
Yeah.
not think about. I actually just read about this somewhere. Someone was asking the difference between canning a pickle and fermenting a pickle, and then here it is in my list here of things to talk about. That's very nice.
Yeah. Well, like I say, fermenting is a way of preserving stuff, or I call cooking pre-digestion. And so when I go into the kitchen, I pre-digest for Gail and I during supper time. And that's essentially what you're doing. You're pre-digesting food in a way and creating new cultures and flavors and stuff. It's not just food for fuel. I think you can get a lot of good sort of semi-medicinal effects from things like fermenting, or yogurt and kimchi, kabuchi, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, cool. So there's one more thing on our list here, but I want to save that for the after show for the patrons. If you're interested in supporting Garden Fork, I ask for a cup of coffee a month. I post some behind the scenes stuff, pictures of the dog, stuff I'm working on Patreon, the app, and also you get an email every time I post something as well. So you don't have to have the app, but it's kind of handy to have, I found. And that's a recurring contribution. I think it's $5 a month as a cup of coffee. But with that, you get the after show and some direct access to me, to the point that Kent, who is a supporter, he messaged me through using Patreon, and I'm going to be on his radio show out of Rolla, Missouri.
Oh, really?
And the Rolla,
What kind of show does he have? What's its focus?
he is a sunflower farmer, and
Really?
Rolla has the University of Missouri, and they have the Rolla School of Mining there. I know about this because I went to high school in St. Louis, and a lot of my friends went to the engineering and mining school in Rolla. So,
Wow.
but we're going to talk about me recently being really overwhelmed with projects to the point that I didn't do anything. So that'll be on the after show. But if you're interested in the weight loss thing, I think on Noom we can all form a little group or something, or we could just email each
can.
other. So
You can.
I thought, who do I ask about this? And I was like, I'll ask my best friends, the people that listen to the show. So,
That's it.
Rick, thank you. I love having you on the show because it's just I never know what we're going to talk about.
Well, I'm sorry it's been so long. I've been really busy. We'll talk about that in the after show as well.
Right. This is very exciting what Rick has been doing, and I have been on radio silence, embargoed. That's the press term.
Embargoed.
Yes.
Yeah. I've been embargoing people. So but I'll talk a little bit about it on the after show, and if we'll see you on the other side. Yeah. Talk to you later, my friend.
All right, thank you, everyone. Go out and do cool stuff and make it a great day. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Garden Fork Radio is produced by Garden Fork Media, LLC in Brooklyn, New York. Our producer is Sean O'Neill. If you need an amazing podcast producer, visit Sean's site, SeanInBrooklyn.com. That's Sean, SEAN, in Brooklyn.com. Our executive producer is Jimmy Goose. For more information about Jimmy and the custom hollow books he makes, visit hollowbooks.com. The music in the show is licensed from audioblocks.com and uniquetracks.com.